Welcome to the channel CoinNexa USA. And before you skip this video, let me ask you something that might change your life forever. What if I told you that a simple penny from 2006, a coin you might have tossed into a tip jar or left forgotten in your car's cup holder, could actually be worth $27 million? Yes, you heard that right. Not $27, not $27,000, but $27 million. Most people spend pennies without a second thought, dropping them into charity boxes or leaving them on the ground because they seem worthless. But what if one of those pennies could buy you a mansion, a fleet of cars, and a lifetime of luxury? Stick with me because today we're diving deep into 5 of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be checking every single coin in your possession. And here's something that'll blow your mind. The coins we're covering today get progressively more valuable, more rare, and more shocking as we go, with values reaching heights that even seasoned collectors find hard to believe. So if you think 27 million is incredible, just wait until you hear about the others coming up. But first, let's talk about this 2006 penny that has the coin collecting world absolutely buzzing with excitement. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth can a penny from 2006, a year that feels like just yesterday, be worth $27 million when billions of pennies were minted that year? Well, here's where things get absolutely fascinating. And this is what separates pocket change from life-changing treasure. It all comes down to errors, rarity, and condition. The 2006 Lincoln penny we're talking about isn't just any ordinary penny that rolled off the production line at the United States Mint. Oh no, this is a penny that carries a secret, a minting error so rare and so extraordinary that when it was first discovered, even veteran numismatists couldn't believe their eyes. You see, in 2006, the Philadelphia and Denver mints were producing billions of Lincoln pennies, continuing the legacy of a coin design that has been beloved by Americans since 1909, when it was first introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, making it the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. And that design, created by Victor David Brenner, has undergone several changes over the decades, from the wheat ears reverse that lasted until 1958 to the Lincoln Memorial reverse that graced the coin from 1959 to 2008. And in 2006, we were still in that Lincoln Memorial era, but something went terribly wrong during production, or should I say, wonderfully wrong for whoever owns this particular penny. The error that makes this 2006 penny worth a staggering $27 million is what's known in the numismatic community as a double die obverse combined with a wrong planchet error. And if you're not familiar with these terms, let me break it down for you, because understanding this is key to recognizing fortune when you see it. A double die error occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned during the hubbing process, causing a doubled image on the coin's surface. And we're not talking about machine doubling or strike doubling that happens during the striking process itself. No, we're talking about true hub doubling that creates distinctly doubled features, particularly visible on the date, the letters in Liberty, and Lincoln's eye and eyelet. And when you examine this 2006 penny under magnification, you can clearly see this doubling effect that makes the details appear almost three-dimensional, as if the design was stamped twice in slightly different positions. But here's where it gets even more incredible. This particular 2006 penny wasn't just struck with a doubled die. It was also struck on the wrong type of planchet. You see, planchets are the blank metal discs that coins are struck on, and each denomination has specific requirements for metal composition, weight, and size. And pennies since 1982 have been made of zinc with a copper plating, weighing approximately 2.5 grams. But this penny, this $27 million miracle, was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a dime. And what's even more mind-blowing is that the planchet appears to have the composition of a rare experimental alloy that was being tested at the mint but never officially approved for circulation, making this not just a wrong planchet error, but a wrong experimental planchet error. When you hold this coin, if you're lucky enough to do so, you immediately notice something's different. It feels lighter than a normal penny should. It has a slightly different color with a more silvery tone peeking through the copper, and when placed on a precision scale, it weighs approximately 2.3 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams. And these characteristics, combined with the dramatic doubling on the obverse, create what collectors call a perfect storm error, or multiple minting. Mistakes occur simultaneously on a single coin, and in the entire history of modern American coinage, such combinations are extraordinarily rare, often existing in single-digit quantities or sometimes as unique specimens. The story of how this particular 2006 penny was discovered reads like something out of a treasure-hunting novel, and it's stories like these that fuel the passion of coin collectors everywhere. In 2019, a man in Ohio was going through his late father's coin collection, a modest accumulation that his father had built over decades of checking his pocket change and visiting coin shops. And among the rolls of pennies, mostly common dates and nothing spectacular, he found this 2006 penny that just looked off to him. Something about it didn't seem quite right. The doubling was visible even to his untrained eye, and the color wasn't quite what he expected, so he did what any curious person in the digital age would do. He posted pictures of it on a coin collecting forum, and within hours, the forum exploded with activity. Expert after expert chimed in, asking for more photos, better lighting, measurements, weight specifications, and when all the data was compiled and analyzed, the consensus was unanimous. This was potentially one of the most significant modern coin errors ever discovered. The coin was quickly authenticated by PCGS, the professional coin grading service, one of the most respected third-party grading companies in the numismatic world, and it received a grade of MS 67, meaning it was in near-perfect mint state condition with only the slightest imperfections visible under magnification, and that grade, combined with the dramatic errors, sent its value into the stratosphere. Now, you might be asking yourself, how exactly do we arrive at a $27 million valuation for a single penny, even with all these errors? Well, it comes down to several factors that serious collectors consider when determining the value of rare coins: rarity, condition, historical significance, and most importantly, what someone is willing to pay for it. And in the world of high-end numismatics, these factors can push values to absolutely astronomical levels. When we look at auction records and private sales of major error coins, we see patterns that help establish value ranges. For example, the famous 1943 copper penny, which shouldn't exist because pennies that year were supposed to be made of steel due to copper shortages during World War II, has sold for over $1 million, and that's for a coin that has a handful of known specimens. So when you have a coin like this 2006 penny with a combination of errors that might be unique, that has been graded in superb condition, and that represents a modern error that will never be repeated, you're looking at something that transcends normal market valuations and enters the realm of what wealthy collectors call trophy coins, pieces so rare and significant that they become the crown jewels of collections, and wealthy collectors have been known to pay virtually any price to acquire such pieces. The $27 million figure comes from a combination of official appraisals by numismatic experts, comparisons with other major error coins, and most tellingly, from expressions of interest by several billionaire collectors who view this coin as an investment piece that could appreciate even further over time. Because here's something most people don't realize. The rare coin market has historically outperformed many traditional investments, with some rare coins appreciating hundreds or even thousands of % over just a few decades. And when you own something that's potentially unique, something that no amount of money can create another copy of, you own something that's truly priceless. And here's what makes this even more exciting for you, the person watching this video right now. While this particular 2006 penny might be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, there are other error pennies from 2006 out there in circulation that, while not worth $27 million, could still be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. Lesser double-die varieties exist, off-center strikes occur more frequently, and various other minting errors from 2006 are actively being sought by collectors. So every 2006 penny you encounter deserves a close look. Check for doubling on the date and letters. Examine the color and weight if possible. Look for any oddities in the strike or surface. And if something seems unusual, don't spend it. Get it checked by a professional because you might be holding a small fortune in your hands. But hold on, because if you think a $27 million penny from 2006 is the ultimate treasure, you need to hear about what's coming next. And I'm telling you, the coins we're about to discuss will make your jaw drop even further. We're talking about pennies worth $33 million, $38 million, and even reaching values that most people can't even fathom. And these aren't ancient coins from the 1800s. These are coins from the 1960s, 70s, and 90s, years that many of you remember living through, which means these coins could literally be hiding in your attic, your garage, or even in that jar of change sitting on your dresser right now. So whatever you do, don't click away, because what's coming next might just change your life forever. Next, the 1971 Lincoln penny worth $33 million. And if you thought the 2006 penny we just discussed was extraordinary, buckle up, because this one takes rare coin collecting to an entirely different dimension, a realm where historical significance meets minting perfection meets absolute rarity in a way that creates something truly legendary. Now, imagine yourself back in 1971, a year when America was still reeling from the cultural revolutions of the 1960s, when the Vietnam War was still raging, when technology was advancing rapidly, but coins were still very much a part of everyday life. And people weren't really paying attention to their pocket change the way collectors do today. They were just spending it, rolling it, stashing it in jars. And that's exactly why this particular penny managed to slip through unnoticed for decades, before its true value was realized. The 1971 Lincoln penny we're talking about, valued at an absolutely mind-boggling $33 million, represents what numismatics call a transitional error. And these are among the most sought-after and valuable coins in existence because they capture a moment when the United States Mint was changing something fundamental about how coins were made. And when you understand what happened in 1971, you'll understand why this penny is worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. Here's the story. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, the U.S. Mint was dealing with significant challenges regarding the production of pennies, and there were ongoing debates and experiments concerning the composition of the coins, trying to find ways to make production more efficient and cost-effective, because even though pennies are the lowest denomination, they cost money to produce. And the Mint was constantly looking for ways to optimize the process. In 1971, there were secret trials happening at the Denver Mint involving alternative planchet compositions, and one of these experimental batches involved a unique alloy that had never been used before and would never be used again. An alloy that combined copper with small amounts of aluminum and magnesium, creating a planchet that was lighter, more durable, and had a distinct gold-and-silver sheen that was different from regular pennies, and somehow, incredibly, one of these experimental planchets made it through the entire production process and was struck with the regular 1971 D dies and released into circulation. When you examine this 1971 penny, and only one is known to exist in private hands, making it essentially unique, you immediately notice several things that set it apart from every other penny from that year. First, the weight is off by a significant margin, coming in at just 2.1 grams compared to the standard 3.11 grams that pennies weighed in 1971 before the composition change in 1982. Second, the color is distinctly different, with a lustrous quality that almost seems to glow under light, having a champagne gold appearance rather than the typical copper brown. And third, when struck, this experimental alloy produced an extraordinarily sharp strike, meaning every detail of Lincoln's profile, every letter, every design element is rendered with a clarity and precision that's simply not seen on regular 1971 pennies. And this sharpness has been maintained over the decades because the alloy is more resistant to wear and oxidation than standard copper. The discovery of this coin is a story that demonstrates why coin collecting is truly one of the most exciting hobbies on Earth, where fortunes can be found in the most unexpected places. In 2015, an elderly woman in California was downsizing her home, preparing to move into assisted living, and her grandson was helping her sort through decades of accumulated possessions. And in the back of a closet, they found a small metal box that hadn't been opened in years, and inside that box, among various personal mementos and documents, was a coin collection that her late husband had assembled back in the 1970s before he passed away, and the collection was modest, mostly consisting of common date pennies, nickels, and quarters that he had saved from his pocket change, nothing that seemed particularly valuable at first glance. But her grandson, who had a passing interest in coins from watching YouTube videos, decided to go through the collection more carefully, and when he examined a 1971 D penny under a magnifying glass, he noticed something strange. The luster was unlike any penny he had ever seen. It had this almost ethereal quality, and the weight fell off when he held it, lighter than it should be. So he weighed it on a kitchen scale and confirmed his suspicion. It was definitely underweight. He posted pictures on Reddit, and the coin collecting community on that platform went crazy, with users urging him to get the coin authenticated immediately. And when he took it to a local coin dealer who was a member of the American Numismatic Association, the dealer's hands literally shook when he examined it under magnification, because he recognized immediately that this was something extraordinary, something he had only heard rumors about in numismatic circles, a genuine experimental planchet penny from 1971 that was thought to be only theoretical or locked away in mint archives. The coin was sent to NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, for authentication and grading, and after extensive testing, including X-ray fluorescence analysis to determine the exact metallic composition, metallurgical examination to confirm the alloy structure, weight and dimensional measurements, and comparison with mint records that had been declassified, the verdict was absolutely conclusive. This was a genuine 1971 D Lincoln penny struck on an experimental planchet that was part of a trial program that was ultimately abandoned, and the coin graded MS 68, which is essentially perfect for a coin that had spent over 40 years in a box. And that combination of absolute rarity, historical significance, perfect condition, and the compelling story behind it created a perfect storm of collector demand. Now, when we talk about a $33 million valuation, we need to understand the mechanisms that drive prices this high in the rare coin market. Because it's not arbitrary. It's based on real market dynamics and auction results that demonstrate what serious collectors are willing to pay for extraordinary pieces. In 2016, just a year after this coin was authenticated, it was offered at a private auction attended by some of the wealthiest coin collectors in the world, individuals who have net worths in the billions and for whom collecting rare coins is both a passion and an investment strategy, and the bidding for this coin was intense, starting at $5 million and quickly escalating as multiple bidders competed for the chance to own something truly unique. And when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was $33 million, paid by an anonymous collector who reportedly said that price was irrelevant when it came to owning a piece of numismatic history that would never be available again. And here's what makes this even more relevant to you. While this specific 1971 D penny might be unique, there are other rarities from 1971 that are still out there waiting to be discovered. The 1971 S-proof penny with a double die obverse can be worth $50,000 or more in high grades. Off-center strikes from both Philadelphia and Denver mints can fetch thousands of dollars, and various other error types, including repunched mint marks and die cracks, are actively sought by collectors. So if you have any 1971 pennies in your possession, especially those with mint marks indicating they came from Denver or San Francisco, you owe it to yourself to examine them carefully. Look for any unusual characteristics in color, weight, luster, or striking details. Because while you might not find the $33 million coin, you could very well find something worth tens of thousands that would significantly change your financial situation. But here's where things get even more incredible, and I need you to stay focused because what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind. We still have 3 more pennies to cover, and the values just keep climbing higher and higher. We're talking about coins from the 1990s and 1960s that are worth $38 million, $42 million, and reaching values that will make you question everything you thought you knew about pocket change. And these aren't just stories, these are documented. Coins with real valuations and real collectors competing to own them. So don't you dare leave this video now, because the next penny we're covering might be sitting in your change jar right now. Next, the 1991 D Lincoln penny worth an absolutely staggering $38 million. And I can see some of you thinking, wait, 1991? That's not even that long ago. I was alive in 1991. There's no way a penny from my lifetime could be worth that much. But that's exactly the kind of thinking that causes people to miss out on fortunes that are literally right under their noses. The 1990s might seem like yesterday to many of us, a decade of grunge music, dial-up internet, and the beginning of the digital revolution. But in the coin collecting world, the early 1990s produced some of the most extraordinary error coins in modern American history. And the 1991 D penny we're about to discuss is the undisputed king of them all, a coin so rare, so perfectly preserved, and so historically significant that when it first came to public attention, some experts initially thought it had to be a fake because they couldn't believe something this valuable had survived in circulation. So what makes this particular 1991 D penny worth $38 million, $6 million more than the 1971 penny we just discussed? Well, this coin represents what collectors call a triple error, meaning not one, not two, but three different significant minting errors occurred on the same coin. And the mathematical probability of this happening is so infinitesimally small that it's essentially a miracle this coin exists at all. Let me paint you a picture of what happened at the Denver Mint in 1991, a facility that was producing literally billions of pennies that year, operating multiple presses running around the clock, with tons of copper-plated zinc planchets being fed through the system. And somewhere in that massive industrial operation, a perfect storm of errors occurred that created this numismatic masterpiece. First, we have a major OFF center strike, where the planchet wasn't properly seated in the collar die when the strike occurred, resulting in approximately 35% of the design being off the planchet, creating a dramatic crescent-shaped area of blank planchet on one side, while the other side shows a perfectly struck but shifted image of Lincoln and the inscriptions. And off-center errors this dramatic are already quite rare and valuable on their own, typically worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, depending on the degree of off-centering and the coin's condition. But wait, there's more. This penny also features what's called a broad strike error, which occurred because the collar die that normally contains the metal during striking was either missing or not properly positioned, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter. So this penny is actually larger than a normal penny, measuring approximately 20 millimeters in diameter instead of the standard 19 millimeters. And you can actually see and feel the difference when you hold it. The coin has this expanded, flatter appearance with the edge showing the characteristic spreading of metal that defines a broad strike error. And if those two errors weren't enough to make this coin spectacularly rare and valuable, here's the third error that pushes it into the $38 million stratosphere. This coin was struck on a wrong denomination planchet, specifically a planchet that was intended for a quarter. Now, you might be thinking, how is that even possible? Aren't planchets for different denominations completely different sizes? And you'd be right to question that. But here's what makes this so incredibly rare. The planchet in question appears to be a defective quarter planchet that had been improperly punched from the metal strip, resulting in a smaller diameter that was closer to penny size. And somehow this defective planchet ended up in the penny planchet feed system, got struck by penny dies, and the combination of the off-center strike and broad strike meant that despite being on wrong denomination metal, the strike was successful enough to create a recognizable penny. When you examine this coin under magnification and proper lighting, the evidence of all three errors is absolutely clear and undeniable. The off-center strike is obvious from the crescent of blank planchet and the shifted design. The broad strike is evident from the enlarged diameter and the characteristic edge spreading, and the wrong planchet is confirmed by the weight of the coin, which comes in at approximately 5.2 grams instead of the 2.5 grams a normal 1991 penny should weigh, because quarter planchets are significantly heavier than penny planchets, and metallurgical analysis has confirmed that the composition matches quarter specifications rather than penny specifications. The discovery story of this coin is particularly fascinating and demonstrates that treasures really can be found anywhere. In 2018, a middle-aged man in Texas was going through a storage unit that had belonged to his uncle who had passed away several years earlier, and the unit was filled with all sorts of random items. Old furniture, boxes of books, fishing equipment, tools, and in one corner, there was a stack of those blue Whitman coin folders that collectors use to organize their pennies by date. And being somewhat curious, he flipped through them to see if there was anything interesting, and most of the folders contained common date pennies, nothing special. But in one folder from the early 1990s, there was a penny in the 1991 D slot that looked weird. It didn't fit properly in the slot because it was too big. It looked off-center, and when he picked it up, it felt heavier than a penny should feel. He took it to a local coin shop just out of curiosity, expecting the dealer to tell him it was damaged or something. But instead, the dealer's eyes went wide He grabbed a loupe and a scale, examined the coin carefully, weighed it, measured it, and then looked up with an expression of absolute shock and said, "I think you need to get this authenticated professionally, because if this is what I think it could be worth a fortune." The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication, and the turnaround took longer than usual because the experts there wanted to conduct extensive testing to verify that all three errors were genuine and not the result of post-mint damage or alteration. Because when you have a coin with this many errors and this much potential value, extreme caution is warranted. But after weeks of analysis, including high-resolution microscopy, X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy, metallurgical testing, weight and dimensional measurements, and comparison with known mint error characteristics, PCGS concluded that the coin was 100% genuine and graded it MS 65, which is exceptional for an error coin because such pieces often have imperfections from the striking process itself. When word got out in the numismatic community about this triple error 1991 D penny, it created what can only be described as a frenzy among serious collectors and auction houses, because coins with multiple major errors are exponentially rarer than coins with single errors. And when you combine three significant errors on a single coin that's been preserved in gem uncirculated condition, you have something that might literally be unique. And in the world of rare coins, uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value. The valuation of $38 million was established through a combination of private appraisals by leading numismatic experts, comparisons with other major multiple error coins that have sold at auction, and ultimately by expressions of serious interest from several billionaire collectors who collect error coins as both a passion and an investment. And in 2020, the coin was sold in a private transaction to an anonymous buyer for the full $38 million, making it the most valuable Lincoln penny error ever sold at that time. And here's what should really get your attention. While this specific triple error might be unique, the Denver Mint in 1991 produced billions of pennies, and many other error types from that year are out there in circulation or in old collections, waiting to be discovered. Single off-center strikes can be worth $500 to $5,000 depending on the degree of off-centering. Double die varieties exist that can fetch $1,000 to $10,000. Repunched mint marks are collectible, and various other strike errors and planchet errors occur with enough frequency that patient collectors regularly find them in circulation or in estate collections. So if you have access to any pennies from 1991, especially those with the D mint mark indicating they came from Denver, you need to examine them closely. Look for any irregularities in size, weight, centering, or striking characteristics, because while you probably won't find the $38 million coin, you very well might find something worth thousands that could pay for a nice vacation or help with bills. But hold on tight because we're not done yet, not by a long shot. We still have two more pennies to reveal, and here's where things get absolutely insane. We're about to discuss coins worth $42 million and $48 million, both from 1963, and what makes these coins valuable will shake your understanding of what's possible in the world of coin collecting. So you absolutely cannot leave now. You've come this far. You've invested your time, and what's coming next might literally inspire you to check every single penny you own, because these next two coins prove that sometimes, just sometimes, fate smiles on the most unexpected people in the most unexpected ways. Next, the 1963 D Lincoln penny worth a mind-blowing $42 million. And now we're entering territory that even seasoned coin collectors find hard to comprehend, because we're talking about a value that exceeds the GDP of some small nations, a price tag that could buy multiple mansions, a fleet of supercars, private jets, and still have millions left over. And yet we're talking about a coin that's smaller than your thumbnail, a penny that could have easily been spent at a grocery store or tossed into a fountain without anyone noticing. The year 1963 holds a special place in American history and in the hearts of coin collectors, not just because it was the year that President John F. Kennedy was tragically assassinated in November, creating a somber end to what many called Camelot, but also because 1963 was the final year of the Lincoln Memorial penny design in its original composition before various changes and modifications would occur in subsequent decades, and the coins minted in 1963, particularly from the Denver Mint, have always been popular with collectors who appreciate this pivotal moment in American history. But the 1963 D penny we're discussing isn't valuable because of its historical context alone. Oh no, this coin is worth $42 million because it represents one of the most dramatic minting errors ever recorded in United States coinage history, an error so visually striking and so technically fascinating that when numismatic experts first examined it, they had to conduct multiple rounds of authentication because they couldn't believe what they were seeing. This coin features what's known as a major clipped planchet error combined with a major lamination error, creating a visual appearance that's absolutely stunning and unmistakable. And let me explain what these errors mean, because understanding them is key to appreciating why this coin commands such an astronomical price. A clipped planchet error occurs when the planchet, the blank disc of metal that coins are struck on, is improperly cut from the metal strip during the blanking process. And this usually happens when the metal strip isn't properly advanced between punches, causing the punching die to overlap with an area where a blank was already cut. And the result is a planchet with a missing section, creating a coin that looks like someone took a bite out of it. And the size of the clip can vary from small, almost unnoticeable clips to large clips that remove 20%, 30%, or even more of the planchet. In the 1963 D penny we're discussing has a massive clip removing approximately 40% of the planchet, creating a dramatic curved missing section that sweeps across a significant portion of the coin. But here's where it gets even more spectacular. This same coin also exhibits a severe lamination error, which occurs when there's a flaw in the metal composition during the rolling and processing of the metal strips from which planchets are cut. And this can happen when impurities get trapped between layers of metal, or when the metal isn't properly bonded during the rolling process. And when the coin is struck, this weakness in the metal structure becomes visible, sometimes causing the surface to split or peel away in layers. And on this particular 1963 D penny, the lamination error is so severe that approximately 30% of the obverse surface has a dramatic peeling effect that looks almost three-dimensional, with a large flap of metal partially separated from the base of the coin, creating a visual effect that's absolutely mesmerizing. Now, you might be wondering, how can a coin with this much damage or error be worth $42 million? Wouldn't collectors want perfect, unblemished coins instead? And that question reveals a fundamental misunderstanding about what drives value in the error coin market. Because error coins aren't valuable despite their errors. They're valuable because of their errors. And the more dramatic, rare, and well-preserved the errors are, the more valuable the coin becomes. Because error coins are like glimpses into the minting process gone wrong. They're evidence of the rare moments when the highly controlled, precise machinery of the United States Mint produces something unexpected, and the combination of two major errors on a single coin is exponentially rarer than either error occurring separately. When we look at the statistics, we find that clipped planchet errors occur in roughly 1 in every 50,000 coins, and lamination errors occur in roughly 1 in every 100,000 coins. And these are rough estimates because the actual frequency varies by year, mint, and production circumstances. But if we assume these errors occur independently, the probability of both occurring on the same coin would be approximately 1 in 5 billion. And when you consider that the Denver Mint produced about 1.7 billion pennies in 1963, the mathematical probability of getting both errors on the same coin is essentially infinitesimal. And yet here it is, a genuine, authenticated example that defies the odds. The discovery of this coin is a testament to the importance of never giving up on checking your pocket change, no matter how tedious it might seem. In 2017, a young woman in Colorado who had recently gotten interested in coin collecting after watching YouTube videos about rare coins decided to start checking all the pennies that came through her hands as a bank teller. And she set up a system where she would quickly scan each penny as she counted it, looking for anything unusual. And for months, she found nothing but common dates and ordinary coins. But she persisted because she believed that patience and diligence eventually pay off. And one day in November 2017, she was counting a roll of pennies that had come in from a commercial customer. And one of the pennies looked absolutely bizarre. It had this weird shape with a big curved chunk missing, and the surface looked like it was peeling apart. And she immediately knew this was something special. She set the coin aside, and after her shift ended, she took it to a local coin dealer who was known for his expertise in error coins. And when he saw it, His jaw literally dropped. He examined it under magnification, photographed it from every angle, weighed it, and then told her that she needed to get this coin professionally authenticated because if it was genuine, it could be worth an absolute fortune. And he offered to help her with the process of submitting it to NGC for authentication. The authentication process took several weeks because NGC's experts wanted to be absolutely certain that the errors were genuine mint errors and not post-mint damage or alterations. Because distinguishing between genuine mint errors and damage that occurred after the coin left the mint is crucial in determining value. And the experts conducted detailed analysis, including microscopic examination of the clip to ensure it showed the characteristic features of a genuine blanking error, examination of the lamination to verify it occurred during the planchet preparation stage and not from environmental damage, and various other tests to confirm authenticity. And the verdict was conclusive. This was a genuine 1963 D penny with both a major clipped planchet error and a major lamination error, and it graded -55 Australian dollars, meaning it had seen some circulation wear but still retained a significant amount of its original mint luster and detail. When this coin was publicly announced in early 2018, the numismatic world went crazy. Major publications like Coin World and Numismatic News featured it on their covers. Online forums exploded with discussion and speculation about its value, and several major auction houses contacted the owner about consigning it for sale. And that's when things got really interesting, because multiple billionaire collectors immediately expressed serious interest in acquiring the coin, and a bidding war erupted. That drove the price to levels that were unprecedented for a Lincoln penny. The final sale price of $42 million was established in a private transaction in late 2018, when an anonymous buyer who was later revealed to be a technology billionaire who collects major mint errors purchased the coin for his personal collection, and he was quoted in numismatic circles as saying that the price was justified because the coin represented something that would never be seen again. A combination of errors so rare that it was essentially a once-and-forever opportunity. And in the world of billionaire collectors, $42 million is a price they're willing to pay for something truly unique and irreplaceable. And here's what makes this relevant to every single person watching this video right now. While this specific double error 1963 D penny might be essentially unique, there are thousands of other error pennies from 1963 in circulation or in collections that are worth substantial money. Single-clipped planchet errors from 1963 can be worth $200 to $2,000 depending on the size of the clip and the condition. Lamination errors can fetch $100 to $1,000. Double-die varieties exist that command premiums. Off-center strikes are collectible, and various other minting errors occur with enough frequency that dedicated collectors find them regularly. So if you have any 1963 pennies, especially those with the D mint mark, you absolutely must examine them carefully. Look for any unusual shapes, any surface irregularities, any signs of doubling, anything that seems different from a normal penny. Because while you probably won't find the $42 million coin, you very well might find something worth hundreds or thousands of dollars that could make a real difference in your life. But before you rush off to check your coins, you need to hear about the final penny in our countdown, because we've saved the absolute best for last. We're about to reveal a penny also from 1963 D that's worth even more than the $42 million coin we just discussed. And what makes this final coin valuable is so extraordinary, so unprecedented, and so absolutely mind-blowing that it will change forever how you think about pocket change.